Have you ever heard of the Three Sisters?
You mean those black singers?
No. I'm talking about mythology. The Triad.
Hold on. If you're talking about spooks and stuff, I don't believe in any of that.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
This is the Blood and Black Rum Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Blood and Black Rum Podcast. I'm Ryan from Cultsploitation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host Mark.
How's it going?
Doing well. We are back in 2023, and we had said previously that we were going to do an episode on Giallo, or Gialli, if you want to be grammatically correct about it.
Giallissimo?
Gialli. And we hadn't done it for the last episode because we kind of swapped it out. There's a better idea.
By a better idea, yeah, it's another Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I know there one.
Friday the 13th. But we should preface this by saying we're technically not doing a Giallo for this episode either. It's not really a Giallo, although it does have elements of Giallo to it, and we'll talk about how that kind of works into the movie. But we are going to do an Italian movie from the 80s.
Not only that, you said you didn't want to do Argento again.
It's true. We kind of doubled back on everything that we said we were going to do.
A hallmark of this podcast.
Yeah. We are going to do Argento. We are going to do a movie from the 80s with Argento. And in true fashion, we're going to follow up with a sequel of a movie that we've already done before. Of course. It's pretty much what we do on the show. So, of course, we're talking about 1980s Inferno from Argento, which is a sequel to Suspiria, though not in name or anything like that. There's no Inferno, Suspiria 2 or anything like that, which I kind of like. And actually, if you come into the movie and you really don't know anything about it, which is how I came to the movie a good 15 years ago, maybe. If you don't know anything about the movie, you may not even recognize that it is a sequel to Suspiria until you get into it a little bit. You're like, hey, some of these things seem familiar. And then, obviously when they talk about the three mothers and things like that, you're going to kind of cue in. But like from the poster artwork and stuff, if you look at Inferno, it doesn't really look like it's going to be a Suspiria sequel, which I kind of like. You're not prepared for what you're going to go into. So, did you know that it was a sequel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You did before you started watching it?
Yeah.
Okay. We may have talked about it. I don't even know.
No,
You had known that before, yeah. I mean, there was a trilogy, and you knew that Mother of Tears was the last one, and the garbage one that came out way later.
Yeah.
I saw this movie about 15 years ago, and I remember, not thinking not too much about it. Like, I thought it was like, it was an okay movie. I don't know. I had already seen Suspiria at that time, and I don't know. I just thought it was okay, and I wasn't really blown away by it. What I was blown away by were a couple things. The soundtrack, for one thing, and the wackiness of Italian movies, because I had not really, like, at that time, I had only experienced probably a few Italian movies of note, like especially Giallo movies from this time frame. And that was one thing that really stood out to me. It was like, why is everything so weird and wacky? But we'll talk about that a little bit as we get into Inferno, because I do think a lot of that is intentional, and it kind of carries over from Suspiria in a little bit of, Suspiria is kind of a little bit more grounded at times, and Inferno is kind of not. It's and intentionally so. Possibly to the annoyance of some viewers, not me in particular. And I will say that on a rewatch, I ended up enjoying Inferno quite a bit, more than I remember. So it was interesting to return to that and, kind of figure out that I like it more than I thought I did. What number Argento movie is this for you? Because we've done Suspiria, and we've done Phenomena, and we did Tenebrae. Are those the only 3?
4. So it's 4 now.
Right. This is 4. Right.
Yeah.
So those were the only 3 prior to this, and then this is number 4 of Argento that you've seen specifically. Okay. So we're bringing you through the whole gamut of Argento. At some point,
I was saying before seeing these films, I would say the block from Suspiria to Opera are the 5 that I know had already, even before years ago when we first started with Suspiria, had seen, stuff about and had, background knowledge before seeing them, because they're usually the films when people talk about Dario Argento, that people who are fans of his work cite, like, these are the movies you gotta see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at some point we're gonna have to dive into the worst output from Argento, the later stuff that doesn't work as well. There's some that I actually haven't seen myself. Like, I have not seen this Stendhal syndrome, even though I own it. I haven't seen it. It's supposed to be quite a weird one. I have seen a number of his later movies, like Mother of Tears. I've seen. There's another one too that I'm drawing a blank on right now. The name of that I've seen that I also really did not like. His Dracula. Oof, that is a rough one. And I haven't seen the newest movie that he released. On Shudder.
Dark Glasses.
Yeah, Dark Glasses. But I don't have really high hopes for it. But I did hear that it was marginally better than some of his newer output, so potentially something to look forward to. I don't know. That'll be something on my to watch list here at some point. But it's scary to go into like Dark Glasses, and you don't know what to expect, because Dracula really left a terrible taste in my mouth, because I was so excited for it too. It's like, oh, Dario Argento's got a new movie coming out. Oh, it's gonna be a rendition of Dracula. And at that time, I was really just starting to get into the reviewing game, and I think I actually got a screener disc of it, and I was super excited. I was like, awesome, I got a screener disc of this. It was like when I was really just starting to get stuff like that. And then I popped it in, and I was like so disappointed. I was like, no wonder they were giving it away to anybody. Terrible. All right, let's take a break real quick. Talk about the beer that we have on the show today. It's a special occasion. We've got a beer that we have never had on the show before. Mostly because it's not easy to come by around here. We had a special order this one. Had to order it with a few other people because it is so expensive to order them, especially with the shipping prices. But it's in our hands, and we wanted to do it today. So we're talking about Mortalis Brewing. Mortalis is from Livingston County, right? Livingston County, New York.
Just outside of Rochester.
Yep. Avon is the specific city that it's located in. So it is in New York State. It's fairly close to us, but not super close, and doesn't get distributed. So it's not like it's just easy to come by. So our buddy ordered it directly from the brewery, and we got 6 different beers to share around. And one of them that we got was their Hydra series, which their Hydra is a sour series that they do. It's kind of a rotating series. And for this one, we got strawberry and blueberry and boysenberry. So, and you can kind of understand by the can and the name Hydra that it's 3-headed. So you're getting hit with a threesome of flavors in that one. So what do you think about the Hydra strawberry, blueberry, boysenberry?
I was gonna say, still to this day, I don't know exactly what a boysenberry is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know that I've had it by itself, right? I don't think I've had like someone has not come up to me and be like, "Would you like to eat a boysenberry?"
I'm
I
sure
don't even
they
know
got-
where you would get one.
I think they grow around here too, because I think some of like our blackberry raspberry mixes that we got around here in these parts of upstate New York are kind of like a.
Well, here's the thing. So handy Google tells me that the boysenberry is a cross between the European raspberry, European blackberry, American dewberry, and loganberry, which is, a fucking hybrid of berries. Again, I've never had a dewberry or a loganberry, and I don't know the difference between these European counterparts of our beloved raspberries.
They're probably what we brought over here.
Yeah, probably.
They probably weren't native to, to here.
But regardless, I think I would really like to eat a boysenberry if I had one and knew that I was eating it, because it just says it tastes like a cross between a blackberry and a raspberry.
Which, again, they're both delightful.
And truthfully, we have a blackberry bush outside the house, and that kind of sounds like what we get, and it kind of looks like what we get. We might be getting boysen. I don't even know. I don't know. There comes a time where there's so much overlap. It's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm eating. It's a fucking berry. It tastes good. Just eat it.
It's just delightful and juicy.
Mm-hmm.
They look a little bit juicier than a little bit thicker voice than than the blackberries that we get around here. Yeah, the picture on the Wikipedia for a boysenberry. Those are some thick boys.
Yeah, they're meaty suckers. Yeah. So basically, it's in the raspberry blackberry family. So putting it all together, strawberry, raspberry, or strawberry, boysenberry, blueberry, you get a nice like trifecta of berry flavors. And again, I think too, like with the berry flavors like that, they kind of all blend together a little bit. Generally when you have flavors like that, you can't really go into it and pick out like specific berries. You're like, oh yeah, there's the boysenberry. Right there in the back of my tongue, the boysenberry came out. They kind of all blend together and make up a very tasty, very juicy sour. Another thing to note about a lot of Mortalis' sours is that they are extremely creamy, very, very thick, frothy, well-textured beers, with a lot of almost like sediment, concentrate. And I think that's,
It's like the seeds have been settled out.
Yeah.
On them.
Yeah, it makes it a very smoothie-like experience. And I really enjoy these types of sours as opposed to some of the other sours that you get where they all taste like, hey, we've boiled down some sour-ish fruit and it kind of melds into this one like really specific flavor of sour. Like they can also often taste very, very similar. Like all the mash just tastes sour-y, These don't really get like that. They do have a distinctive, nice flavor to them with that creamy texture. And I think that Mortalis does a particularly good job of nailing these specific types of beers, because this is pretty much what they're known for, is the sour style. So what did you think about this one?
As I'm finishing it up, I like it a lot. This is very good. Had a couple of Mortalises now. They've all been terrific. It's kind of like, the beer trees that we've done here with that, the fruited sour, couple like mixes that we've done from them. Always terrific. Very well done. I think Mortalis has the edge over them because they just know how to blend all the flavors perfectly together. And I do like the fact that, unlike like a Goes style sour, that this is, these are more kind of thicker on the mouthfeel, a little bit more, as sedimenty, as you said, like you got like pulp and seed in there, adds a nice, texture to it. It's this bright purple, blue color hue.
Yep.
It's a great looking beer, and it tastes delightful. The strawberry, I will say, I don't get that much of. It's kind of most muted of the two. Of the three. It's definitely mainly focused on the blueberry and boysenberry flavors, which I'm fine with because I love blueberries. And I love if boysenberries are like a hybrid between raspberries and blackberries, delightful. Love it. I love strawberry too, but I would rather see, the blackberry raspberry taste. And that's what's at the forefront. It's very good. Absolutely phenomenal. The Mortalis sours are worth the price. And if you live in, the Rochester area and you're able to go out there, go and get them. If not, and you live in New York, you can have them delivered to you. They're definitely worth the price. They put a lot of time and effort into these. And it'd be nice, to see them be able to kind of grow and expand and maybe get some level of distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that would impact their quality, that would be, remain to see. But I think, it'd be nice to see them eventually get a little bit bigger. So at least at the state level here in New York, you can start finding them around. But I like this a lot. I would say definitely try it. And anytime you see any of their Hydra series, check them out because they always have these new interesting combinations of fruits and flavors going together.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a really solid beer. It does, they do an excellent job with all of these styles. And, if you're looking for a nice sour with a smoothie texture to it, these are great. The Hydra series is ever expanding. They do a number of different beers within the Hydra series, and then even offshoots of the Hydra series. But everything that I've had so far from Mortalis has been excellent, and this one's no different. And you're right, I don't get as much strawberry as I do the rest of the berry flavors, but I think that they've done a really good job with this, and can't really ask for more. So if you do have a chance to check out Mortalis, I believe you can, I don't know if it's just New York State, but I believe you can order from their website now and get it delivered. I don't know if it's out of state yet, because there's all kinds of laws and legalities around shipping out of state for beer. But if you do have the chance, you're around the area in Rochester, or you check on our website, check them out, and give them a try. They got a lot of different stuff. Very solid brews all around. All right, so let's talk about Inferno. Let's go into details about Inferno here, because Inferno is a really interesting movie that, again, it's a sequel to Suspiria, but not in name, and it has a really interesting idea behind it that kind of is different than Suspiria does. So we kind of talked about this off the podcast, but Suspiria has more of a lucid quality to it, where even like you're following one character, you are kind of in the same shoes as that character. You don't know what's going on, and the film doesn't really give you that much information that the main protagonist doesn't get. So you're kind of in those same shoes. Whereas with Inferno, Argento kind of takes it in a different direction. We don't follow one particular character. We actually follow a few. And the film kind of likes to play around with the audience's expectations of who is going to make it and what's going to happen to them. Because pretty consistently, we swap characters. We follow them for a little while and then kind of go off in a different direction. And for the most part, it's very dreamlike in the fact that a lot of things that are happening don't really have much basis in reality, and Argento doesn't really give us that much information about what's going on either. There is some exposition dropped, but for the most part, he kind of lets you, as the viewer, meander through this and kind of see from different perspectives what's going on with the three mothers that all this information that's being thrown at you about the three mothers and the various architecture that they have going on in different areas of the world. It's I don't know, where should we start? Should we start at the beginning, or how should we start this off? What do you think?
We can start at the beginning.
So the beginning kind of gives us that information about the three mothers, right? It starts off, we get a voiceover from our guy Varelli, who is he's apparently a paranormal architect, basically, or something of that nature. He's like,
I make homes for the dead.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting job description for him, but yeah, he's basically, and the one thing that I like about this too, that like right off the bat grabs you, is like the witches are, supposed to be very careful. There's three mothers. They're like, they're evil in the world, and they've got these three homes on the various areas of the world. They got one in Rome, which we saw in Suspiria, or the one in Germany we saw in Suspiria. They got one in Rome, which we kind of see here that there's some Rome elements to it. And then there's one in New York, which is pretty much what this film is interested in. That's Mater Tenebrarum. And this architect has designed all three of these areas, and they all kind of have similar architecture, and the similar architecture being they have like crazy different, areas that they're all really crazy architecture, basically, where you're trying to figure out where entrances and exits are, and there's things built into the different stories, and there's a basement that's flooded and stuff like that. The architecture is kind of the draw of these movies. But anyway, they've been very careful about hiding their identities and stuff in these three different areas. And then this architect goes ahead and he writes a book about it. Just like, they didn't really do a good job of locking that shit down, of like making sure like, hey, maybe don't let this guy get a book published that tells our secrets to the world. Like, that there's a key hidden beneath your feet and stuff. Because maybe that would not be a good thing to have out in the world. They don't really do a good job of covering that up too much, covering their tracks.
Thinking about it, Suspiria, the original Suspiria, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because again, last time I saw it is when we watched the movie in I think 2017 is when we did our episode on Suspiria. So it's been 6 years now, and so the remakes kind of stuck more in my head. But and like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. They don't really even bring up this whole three mothers thing until like the very end. Like there's like, oh, Mother Superiora,
Right.
So it's kind of like a last minute thing, like it's kind of tacked on, thrown in there.
It kind of comes up, but it's kind of here and there. Like, there's that guy that she meets with and kind of tells her a little bit.
But all we get to see is her skeleton, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Till like the end where it's like, well, we're gonna go to hell, So it's not like it's like the focal point. And again, speaking of like how we were talking about the Suspiria before we were talking about Inferno, and Suspiria is a lot more lucid. Like one of the problems that I had while watching the original Suspiria, and I do remember this vividly, like as eye-catching and aesthetically pleasing and cinematography, all that kind of stuff that Argento has a good eye for, story-wise, it's just like a rambling, lucid mess of just like shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no real constant through line. And you either like, that kind of storytelling or you don't. Inferno, it's very lucid and again, very dreamlike too. But they put, Argento in this one puts poles in for story beats. Like we start off like the three mothers, this is what the three mothers is all about. And we go on from there and we follow kind of a plot, overarching plot of what's going on here at this house and the characters around this house, apartment, whatever you want to call it, It's much more grounded.
Yeah.
Which also, that opening, too, makes me think, too, with, like, the whole story thing, that's the same thing like with Tenebrae. So was Tenebrae actually supposed to, instead of being, like, a Giallo about a killer, was that supposed to be the third one? And Argento, scrapped it like halfway through. Like, fuck it, I'm just gonna make her regular old Giallo this time. So and call it Tenant Break.
I know. Yeah. I mean, what you were saying though, I think it's kind of interesting because, yeah, I get what you're saying about the Inferno giving us more. Like, it gives us more information. It really clearly gives us a lot of information about the mothers, what's going on. The 3 houses, all of that. And at the same time, I feel like Inferno has less of a plot than Suspiria. Because at least Suspiria is following this one character throughout, her going to this, ballet school and stuff like that. Like, it actually follows her going there and, learning about some of this information, learning about the witch that lives there. In Inferno, there's really not a lot of plot going on. It's just kind of like people are stumbling on the fact that potentially there's this Mater Tenebrarum that's living in this apartment complex, and they're investigating it, and then they die, and then somebody else finds out about it, and they're drawn to it, and then they die, and then someone else gets drawn to it, and there's just there's not like an overarching plot of like this is happening because such and such. It's more just like people get drawn into this web, and Mater Tenebrarum's like, no, we're not having all these people sniffing around here. Let's just take care of it right now. One thing I do like about it, though, is it has and I should preface that by saying I don't dislike the fact that it has no plot. I think it's really interesting because it really does feel like a dream in many scenarios where you just have these people wandering through various weird architecture. And I think that Argento does a really good job of showcasing the changing architecture of this building and how it feels very supernatural. You don't really get a very good bearing of where you are in relation to being in the building, and not only in this building but in multiple different buildings. Like, there's that one woman who goes searching for the Mother of Tears book in this library in Rome, and then for some reason discovers a whole section of the library that's devoted to like people boiling cauldrons. There's this one guy just fucking boiling cauldrons in the back.
Well, not only that, what's even funnier, and again, this is where like I think all of this is kind of just like a dream, where like she's in this library walking around. She's like, "Excuse me, yes, can you show me? I'm looking for a book, The Three Mothers. It's right behind you." And she turns and it's like, "Oh, there's the book.
There are 3 of them right there."
So like, it's, everything that happens in here is all like very dreamlike, and it makes it seem like everything that's happening is, part of a great big dream.
And I feel like,
oh, sorry.
No, I feel like that might have been one of the reasons why I didn't like Inferno as much when I first watched it, because I kind of was watching it and thinking like, well, none of this is very realistic. And then I'm watching again now, and I'm saying, that's kind of the point. The point is that it's not realistic, that you're kind of walking through this dream with these characters of like going into this weird supernatural dimension where things are happening, and it doesn't make sense to the characters, and it's not supposed to. It's supposed to be kind of bewitched. Like, all of a sudden, the mothers know she's trying to find out about them, so they send her to this weird area of the library where there's, this guy boiling cauldrons of really bad oatmeal and gruel and
So I was thinking too. It's like,
yeah,
please, sir, can I have some more?
I know, but I like that now, thinking about it, because it is a really cool element to this, is that it's all very dreamlike and you don't have good bearings, and I think that works to the film's advantage, actually. Instead of, there might be some audiences who are like, I don't like it. I don't like how it doesn't feel real. It's not grounded. But at the same time, I like that. I think that it works really well, especially considering the fact that we're talking, we did, Mater Suspiriorum, which was Mother of Sighs, and you got kind of that idea. This is Mater Tenebrarum, which is Mother of Darkness, and so we're getting kind of like that dreamlike element, sleep.
The whole film is dark. It doesn't, outside when you go to Rome, it's nothing but, this red and, blue and green lighting that's throughout, like, kind of like how Suspiria is that, hyper saturated. Here it's, I would say, almost it has that like coloring aspect, but like because it's made or tanabarium or whatever the hell, it's more it's a lot a little bit blander in the colors, but they're ever present.
Yeah, it's
And
a
it
little bit more muted in this one. And it's less green than we get in Suspiria and more blue this time. We definitely get, like more of that blue, cooler color to it. And again, too, I think that's another thing that originally I may not have liked about Inferno is that it doesn't feel as vibrant, as lush as Suspiria. And to be fair, most films don't get to that point. Suspiria is still pretty prevalently known as the most colorful Giallo film that you can think of, the most colorful horror film that I can think of being just so vibrant, so lush, and so beautiful to look at. But
for some, it's the only reason why you'd want to watch it.
yeah,
Like...
could be. With Inferno, you do still get that, and I understand what he was doing there. He wanted to go a little bit more muted. He didn't want to be as in your face as Suspiria because there's just a different vibe to this movie. What I also wanted to point out is that this film has a lot of melding of ideas to it too, which I think ties into the element of evil that's at play here, because we do know that the three mothers have kind of segregated themselves to various areas of the world so that they can kind of spread their evil in like areas or like special various areas that they could just kind of branch out. And I think that kind of comes across here with the almost Giallo element to the movie, which doesn't really tie into the witches at all. It's kind of just playing out at the same time in the same building, and it's like that evil has kind of spread to them. It's with the housekeeper and her. I guess it's her son. I don't know. It's not really clear, but it's I think his name is John in this movie. It's like the guy, the butler almost, that takes care of the Countess. Drawing her an excellent bath. He like kind of waves a nice little thermometer wand through the bath, and it looks like he's a very, very skilled at drawing baths. I would like him to draw me a bath, to be honest with you.
It's like John Leguizamo and Mr. Deeds.
Yeah, right. But these two people are not related to the witches at all. Like they don't have a specific agenda with the witches.
Fuck that up. John Turturro.
Oh, John Turturro. Yeah. They don't have a specific agenda with the witches. Their motivation is really just money. They're like, we're gonna steal the Countess's money.
They kind of give off the old fuckers and Rosemary's Babies vibe, like
a little bit, right? Like
maybe they're working for
part
Satan.
of the cult, sort of. Yeah. Because you kind of do see that a little bit. I think they are actually even in the same room at one point with Mater Tenebrarum, and we don't know it at that time, obviously. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like, are they working together? Aren't they? But then it kind of pivots to the Giallo-ness, where we see this happen in the apartment building, and you get the black-gloved killer and things like that are part of the Giallo genre.
Using this paring knife to stab people through the throat.
And honestly, Inferno is not a Giallo movie. Just like Suspiria is not a Giallo. They don't have many elements.
They have black gloves and a knife, though.
Yes, exactly. Like this does have like parts of it, and I think that's interesting that Argento is melding some of those genres in here and showcasing that there is evil around the witches, that's happening. Like again, Kazanian, who lives in the or he has the antique store that's next door to the apartment building where Mater Tenebrarum is. This guy's fucking psychotic, man. At first you're thinking like, they keep calling him a gimp and stuff. And you're like, wow, that's really, that's really rude for this guy. The poor guy's on crutches. We don't know his story.
No. It's the 80s. It's okay.
Hey,
look, there goes that fucking gimp.
I know. They just throw that right out there. He's like, who is that man? Oh, you mean the gimp? With the great dubbing that this movie has at times.
Oh, who's the man on crutches? You mean the gimp?
Yeah, I know. But anyway, you're thinking like, you're like, doesn't seem like that. Such a bad guy. You know, he just is an antiques dealer. He has these books and stuff. He's kind of targeted, without reason. And then all of a sudden you see, oh no, actually, you know what? He's keeping a fucking chest with cats in a sack in the fucking chest. Picking him up by the scruff, throwing him into a bag, and then taking that bag out to the sewer drain in New York City and fucking dropping the bag into the water. No, this guy's psychotic, man. I don't
No, that's an old-time European sport, drowning cats.
just throwing the cats in the fucking water in a bag. It's tough to watch, man. Seeing that poor cat getting picked up at the scruff, thrown into a bag.
Yeah, after they just mauled him and his buddies just mauled the lady to death. Oh yeah, those poor cats.
It's poor cats, man. Poor cats. I have sympathy for them for either way. They look like they're, they mean well. They're being influenced by evil witches. So, no, but I like this scene because, like, again, Kazanian. You could argue maybe he's been influenced by the evil that's around his building. And then not only that, but you have this, random butcher guy that's got a little, I don't know what it is. Would you call it like a food truck down by the lake there, down by the sewer drain? He's fucking, he's making kebabs down there, and all of a sudden, you see him come flying out of his thing. He's like, because Kazanian he's screaming for help. He's like, the rats are eating me. And then
that's nice irony too. He goes and drowns the cats, a fucking bunch of rats, like they're this like scabies or whatever, the little things from like Lost World, Jurassic Park, like
Oh yeah, the one
copies, yeah. And he's yelling, and he's in fucking New York, and no one hears this poor man yelling, "I'm being eaten by a rat."
I know. It's kind of a funny scene.
It's funny because he can't do anything because he's crippled, so he's just laying there like, oh no, they're eating my legs.
They're like,
just
fucking
yelling,
and then again can't get out of the water
because it's New York City. It's fucking funny because no one's running. Like there's not a person in sight except the hot dog vendor who.
He comes sprinting over, and I find that funny. Like with the way that they shot it, he's sprinting over like I'm gonna fucking save the day. I'm gonna.
You know what they should have had? As soon as he started bolting and looked like he was carrying, it should have played William Tell's Overture, like.
Yeah, I know, because that's pretty much what it looks like. He comes running over, and props to Argento. He does a really good job, but like all of a sudden you're thinking, he's gonna save him. He's gonna save him. All of a sudden he just pulls out his knife, right into the neck.
That's like more like showing like the dream factor, because that's something that would happen in a dream, like
right.
Goddamn cats are annoying me. I'm gonna drown them, and then all of a sudden my punishment in this nightmare is being eaten alive by rats. And then I think I'm going to be saved, and then this kind Samaritan comes over and lops my head off. Yeah,
yep.
No, that's really just adds like to the fact that like this whole thing is this big fucking
fever dream.
Just fever dream.
Yeah.
Same thing too with like the lady that Sarah, when she's running around and she gets caught and her head's like by the goblin creature, demon, whatever the hell sidekick Mother Tenenbaum has like running around, pulls her head down and puts it into nails, but it's not killing her, it's just holding her in place, and then using a plate glass as a guillotine. And the way it looks, like in the way it's shot, like it looks like a guillotine, and then like it doesn't lop her head off, it just goes poof. And then like you have to do it 3 more times, not even like lop her head off, but like an incision enough to kill her.
Yep.
Like that, that's pretty cool. And again, but like the whole, like that whole bit is, very, the whole thing's dreamlike. And
not only that, but you generally don't get to see the actual death. Like it almost cuts away like a TV movie sort of thing would do. And I think that's kind of like the dreamlike element, that you generally don't see your own death. Like you kind of, it's impending, that it's coming, and then boom, you're awake. You don't actually get to see it. So again, there's like that dreamlike sequence of, it's happening, but then you don't get to see it, which I think works really well. Suspiria is pretty well known for its very elaborate kills and, almost like deadly beauty that it has. And Inferno has that too, but in a different way. Like, we're getting the dreamlike way and it's still elaborate. The whole guillotine thing is still very elaborate and unrealistic, but it works. It's just that it's kind of a different approach. But at the same time, this movie does a lot of things that ape Suspiria. Like, instead of a person falling through a chandelier, glass floor when they're, getting hanged, this time it has a person getting caught on fire by like a fiery curtain and then falling out the window.
That old bitch goes flying through.
I know.
It's just fucking funny.
I know. but it has a lot of those elements to it. There's like aping Suspiria, things that are very similar to Suspiria, drawing that parallel, but then, doing it differently. Or there's, the whole rain scene where, she's riding in a taxi cab and you got Keith Emerson's yammering going on around it. Yeah. There's a little prog rock opera going on. Those things are really mimicking Suspiria, but like, I like that it does it in a different way, that it, he goes in a different direction with them all. I think he does a really good job.
I like that every film up until like when they could finally film in real rain, is nothing but a torrential downpour.
Yeah.
Because just like in Suspiria here, whenever it's raining, it's not like you're in the fucking Amazon, like just torrential downpour and like, well, we're gonna have to wait this out for 4 days. When she's in that taxi, it's like it's just coming on down.
What do you think about Lee McCloskey here, who's our main guy, Mark, who, when we meet him, he's wearing my dad's wedding tux, because my dad wore a baby blue wedding tux, and he's got the fucking same thing going on here. He's sitting in class at university.
And I think your dad had that same haircut.
Yeah,
too,
probably. And the mustache. He's got a pretty nice mustache going on, too.
He is like D-list Tom Atkins. He's got the stash and the look, but like, goddamn, he has nothing to do. I mean, he's like not, and nobody really in this. I mean, that's one of I think the shortcomings in this film is nobody's like really stand out here. There's no one to really carry what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
At least in Suspiria we had Jessica Harper there. To carry a lot of the work. There's not like, I mean, nobody's bad, but like nobody's like really like doing anything spectacular acting wise. And Lee's just kind of like, what? Where's my sister? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Rome. There's this girl looking at me. Wow, she has a cat. They like cats in the class? That's weird. Wow. I gotta go back to New York. I'm in New York, which is Rome. Wow. Owen Wilson in his way throughout the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that, because the way that this doesn't have one particular protagonist, there isn't one person to carry the film. And you're right. I think whether it be some sort of issue with dubbing or, whether it's just wooden acting in general.
I wouldn't say the dubbing, because I mean, it's just the dubbing for the most part, like he comes off when it's, dubbed over, like fine, like his, portrayal's fine. It's just the fact that there's nobody, and I think that's kind of intentional, the fact that there's not supposed to be anybody here that's like, charismatic to kind of carry the story, because it's all just like, again, it's just big dream that's going on, this big lucid dream that's happening, and stuff is happening in this dream-like quality. So there's really no reason to have somebody who's, going to carry the day at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hinder the film, but it doesn't help the film. It's a push overall in my eyes. Like, nobody's bad, but there's no one that you're going to point to in this afterwards and say, yeah, that was a performance that, was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I like, though, that, like, we get an epic mustache, and we get a very aloof performance, because I do think that he kind of, again, we could use the term sleepwalking. He's kind of sleepwalking through this. Sleepwalking through his various elements to the plot. There's a time where there's one guy who asks him when he stumbles on the dead people in the apartment. He's like, "What happened? Did you see anything?" He's like, "She was dead when I got there." Just very nonchalantly delivering that line. I don't think he has a lot of pathos or anything like that, but he's fun to watch. This film, though, too, has a lot of people in it. A lot of female characters that just kind of crop up for a short time and then either die or, disappear, or even sometimes they're part of the witches, and we don't even really know it. Like, there's that one lady who is in Mark's university class who's, he's getting a letter from his sister and she's just staring him down with her cat. Which the film doesn't really explain. Again, it's sort of like that dreamlike sequence of, is this happening or is it part of a dream? Which I like quite a bit. I like Argento here tries to get in a lot of attractive Italian ladies to, give us some fun. Not only that, but he gets in that nice wet t-shirt contest at the beginning of the film as she takes a dip into the apartment's like basement that has a subfloor underneath it that's flooded. Which I think that's really an interesting idea about the architecture of the buildings, that they doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And also too, it doesn't even like, it's hard to follow the architecture sometimes, because I feel like it's not laid out in a way that the audience can really follow. And yet it all just works because you're kind of open to that idea because of the dream elements to this movie.
I lied because like the whole dream quality of the film. I do really like the opening beginning of the girl talking, Rose talking to Kazanian about the Three Mothers book, and getting that backstory, and then she's like being told by the narrator, "Don't go down there. The basement's bad." And she's like, "I'm gonna go down to the basement."
Yeah.
And then drops her little brooch with the keys on it, and then she's like, "Oh," and then she goes down there. It's this nice extended 13-minute bit where she's going down there looking for her keys. And it's very slow, and then she eventually finds them but drops them, and then goes to get them, and as she goes to get them, dead bodies start floating towards her, and you get to hear the as if the bodies are coming to kill her, but they're obviously dead, but they're playing the music oh, if they get her, you're gonna die, Mm-hmm. Again, adds that nice dreamlike quality, quality to the film. I did really like that part. That was, fun.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Argento is kind of pacing things a little bit slower in this movie, but at the same time, it all works out because of that dreamlike languidness to it. I think works extremely well for this movie. What do you think about the Emerson soundtrack? Because this is notably missing the Goblin soundtrack that Suspiria had. It's a different variation of that idea of what Goblin was doing in Suspiria. What do you think about using Keith Emerson here?
Well, it's hit or miss. There's some parts of the score that's nice. There's other parts where it's fucking just out of control. And I don't even blame Keith Emerson for that. I think maybe Dario was probably no. We need this. Or he would submit something and Dario was like, "No, I need you to be fucking more, and I need you to do this, It's just there's very hit or miss, and it's not even attributed to the whole looseness of the film. It's all over the place. The opening bit, it's this classical Corman style B movie, 1950s score. and then it goes into like this nice like synth, like, you know, hardcore synth beat, like boom, 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 and then it goes into classical. I mean, like it kind of fits like the Dream theme because it's all over the place, like a dream would be. But I think it's like way too just fucking ridiculous. I do love the end, you know, like song with like, oh, there's a spirit, boom, boom, mother like, I'm pretty sure that's what they were playing when Krillin and the Dragon Ball Super, when he gets stabbed in the chest by Frieza, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what they were playing? Like,
yeah. I mean, honestly, Emerson went hard with this one. No, there was no reason for him to have to go so hard with the ending Mater Tenebrarum finale there, and yet he does. He just lets loose with a flurry of various instrumentals and operatic singing. It's I think, like, for people watching this movie, if they don't come away with the fact that, like, oh, that was a weird dream, or I thought that the architecture was crazy, or oh, the set design and the lighting was really cool, then at least they're gonna come away with, that was a fucking soundtrack, man. Yeah, that was banging. I think too, it's interesting because Argento had noted that he wanted something a little bit more subtle than Goblin for Inferno. And I don't know that I would say that Keith Emerson's soundtrack here is more subtle. I don't
understand that as in the concept, though. You as a director can be like, listen, Goblin, or subtle.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
You know, to act like, you know, in Dawn of the Dead, man, everyone's dead. How are we gonna end this fucking film? And Goblin just submitted the gonk, and Romero was like, yeah, perfect. They like didn't like say like, no, that sounds stupid. It doesn't sound stupid, but like the fact, like the thing, like, well, they submitted it. What are we gonna do, George? I guess we have to use it, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
that's a foolish idea. So are you telling me Dario Argento's afraid to be like, hey guys in Goblin, listen, I'm not gonna use you this film. I need you to come up with a rockin' fucking disco synth score for Tenebrae next. So work on that, you know.
I mean, I think it's like, I think that the soundtrack is a little bit more, maybe a little bit more nuanced than Suspiria, because Suspiria has more of the soundtrack. Like, Keith Emerson's soundtrack is kind of used sparingly, but when it comes about, it is definitely hard. It goes hard. So
I wouldn't even say sparingly. It's ever present throughout.
You think so? I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit less widely used than like Goblins, but maybe not.
So what did you think of that whole ending, Ben?
With the Inferno?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, and Argento's done this twice now. He does it in Suspiria and he does it in Inferno as well. I'm not a huge fan of like the showdown where we see the mother and basically the mother is just like, here's what's happening, blah 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 blah, and then we have, and again, like in Suspiria, we have the building kind of falling apart, crumbling, or in this case catching on fire and completely burning up. I think that it's kind of a cop-out that there is really no confrontation. It's more so we just meet the mother, we're revealed who the mother is, and then that's it. Like, you know, run away because the building is on fire.
See, I think would have made that more interesting. Like, I'm kind of fine with the setup because kind of where else are you going to go? But if you're going to, like, introduce, you know, Mater Tenenbaum to be, like, she took over Rose's body. Like, well, why did she hang Rose, you know, earlier in the film? Because she needed, like, somebody else to take over. That would tie it back more to having Mark running around. Because now, him being, like, the protagonist, and this is kind of fucking pointless to even call him a protagonist, because he's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you had that element, you'd be, like, you know, maybe at the end he doesn't escape the fire. Like, you know, he's trying to save his sister and dies in the fire, which, is trickery of Major Tenenbaum. But they went like, oh, I'm not just... The other thing that was confusing, too, is she's like, you know us as the three mothers, and she doesn't say specifically what mother she is. She says we're the three mothers, and I'm death incarnate,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm not a huge fan of the change to a pretty bad-looking skeleton person.
I kind of like that, though, like the whole jump out, like, I'm death incarnate, and she turns into, like,
just turns into... Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I kind of like the fact that they kind of left it as, we know the mother of sighs, made her Suspiria, just kind of like this disgusting witch-like lady that lays around and breathes heavily in Suspiria. And then they did it a little bit differently here, and Major Tenenbaum is like a person that you would not suspect as being like that. It's a young woman, fairly attractive, and kind of timid, and a nurse. And you would not expect that that's who it is. And I kind of like that. But then, they kind of go the whole 9 yards. I also like the part where she steps in front of the mirror and it doesn't mimic what's happening in the foreground. Where the mirror, she's standing in front of the mirror, she's speaking, and in the mirror you can see that like she's not speaking, and there's just a subtle difference in what's happening in the background. I think that's pretty cool. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of that than the, more explicit, like, I am death, that we get later on. But I think they did a pretty good job with the Inferno. And if you didn't know, that's those are all like miniature sets for all the architecture that you see crumbling and stuff and on fire. That obviously that Mark's not running through because it doesn't make sense. But all of that stuff was just miniature and very specifically designed sets that were really just designed to be filmed specifically for those scenes. They didn't have an apartment building or anything like that they shot it in. So pretty cool stuff. And Mario Bava worked on this too. One of the reasons for our podcast name, Blood and Black Release. So cool stuff. So what do you like Suspiria or Inferno more? So pose that question.
So I think, again, and it's been 6 years since I've seen Suspiria, so I think because Inferno is fresher in my mind, I like Inferno more. I don't even remember what the fuck I gave Suspiria as a rating. I think probably 7. Because I remember liking, the aesthetics and, Argento's eye, but I think the whole kind of lucid bullshit kind of annoyed me. I think I like Inferno more. I'll have to probably sit down and actually watch Suspiria again and see how I feel on it now. But I had a fun time watching Inferno, and I did have to take a break a little bit through because even it's an hour and 40 and it does move glacial at points, so I did have to walk away for 5 minutes, but I did watching Inferno, and I think I liked it. Again, it's hard for me to say because I haven't watched Suspiria in forever, so. But I think in my mind's eye now, I'd say I liked Inferno more.
For me, I like Suspiria more, but at the same time, I really now have a much better appreciation for Inferno watching it again. And they're pretty close. I like that they both do different things. They're not meant to be the same movie. They're not meant to, be direct extenuation of each other. They have almost like mirror elements to them, but they're two very different movies, and Argento meant to do different things with them. So I have a much better appreciation for Inferno now. I guess that leads us to our rating. Out of 10 black singers and spooks, what would you give Inferno?
Which, by the way, that part is so funny when she asked...
Explain. Yeah.
Yeah. Explain your racist joke. No, I mean, it's funny when she goes to ask Carlo when she's Rose is upset that that she's being like stalked. She feels like she's being stalked, and she can't be left alone. And there's a man in the elevator ogling. She's like, I guess that'll do. But she asks him, like, do you know the three three mothers? Three sisters? No, it was three. Yeah, it was three sisters. She goes, have you ever heard of the Three Sisters? And he goes, is that the Black Singer group? like that's how you like, oh, film. That's how you know you're old. And then she starts talking about ghosts, and the guy goes, I'm not afraid of no spooks. And it's like, whoa!
I know. Yeah. So that's the reason for our rating there.
That didn't get translated well.
No.
I'll give Inferno 7.5 out of 10. It's a good film. I think it's, really well done. I think Argento has a really good eye, and I think in every film that we've done, I think, his filmmaking style, quality is always very good. Like, he has a certain aesthetic. He knows how to make things look good. I think using Suspiria's kind of color palette and muting it fits very well, fits the theme. Whether or not, like, this is supposed to be a direct sequel to Suspiria, or, like, something like Sergio Leone's, Man with No Name trilogy, where it's just kind of like a sequel in spirit only. Doesn't matter. It looks really good. It's well filmed. I like the fact that it's more grounded than Suspiria, that it's, even though the whole film is one big dream, I do like the fact that, like, it has a start, a middle, and an end, and it gets there, and it has these these tent poles basically set up for you to kind of follow in this big lucid dream. The acting overall, nobody's gonna astound you. There's not a performance here that's really great, but nothing's bad. The soundtrack, Keith Emerson does a good job, but it is way too schizophrenic for my liking. I don't blame that on Keith Emerson. I think that's more probably what Argento was telling him to do. The kills are really good. Some of them we see off screen, and others, like the whole using a plate glass window as a guillotine. That was really cool. The guy getting eaten by rats in the lake, that before getting, stabbed, was really cool. The guy getting stabbed in the neck and, like, struggling before the knife got ripped out. All very good. I think the one big downfall of this film is that it's 1 hour and 40. Probably could be only 90 minutes. It's glacial at good points, and it's glacial at bad points. So, the fact that it is so slow burning, Argento's pace, he keeps it the same throughout, but at some points, it overstays its welcome. But that being said, I liked it a lot. It's definitely not my favorite Argento film. It's still Tenebrae. Tenebrae is still my favorite Argento film, but this is a pretty fun film. I definitely think if you're a avid fan of horror, it's definitely something you should watch, because it's a slasher. It's psychological. It's supernatural. It hits a lot of different beats, and so watch Inferno.
Yeah, I would give that a 7.5 out of 10 as well. I agree with that. I think it's a really fun movie. Like you said, it does have slow moments to it. I think that's, it's kind of intentional. It's a little bit more plotting than Suspiria, even though I think probably people would agree that Suspiria is also kind of a slower movie. It kind of works in atmosphere. And the same is true of Inferno. A lot of it is atmosphere. A lot of it is dream-like elements to it. A lot of it is architecture and set design and the beauty of the reds and blues that are here. I think that it does a good job of building that suspense, of having elements to it that make it seem like a Giallo at times, make it seem like a supernatural movie. and extend the mythos of the witches, the three mothers from the original Suspiria. I think that they, Argento does a really good job of melding it with the Suspiria elements, and then also branching it out into its own concept. And I think it's really enjoyable if you just accept it for what it is, accept it for the dream sequences. Don't try to find reality in it. Don't try to see it as something that you have to understand, and just kind of take it in as a dream. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. And that's how I watched it this time. And I am now a pretty big fan of Inferno, whereas before, didn't really like it as much. So that's how I'd recommend watching it. Just go into it, allow it to envelop, and don't worry so much about whether it all makes sense and, meshes together. It doesn't have to. It's a dream.
Now, just out of curiosity, where did you see Inferno? Because Lord knows this was not being played on TV. And I highly doubt there was a video renter around here that would have been carrying it. So did you manage to stumble upon it on the internet somewhere?
Let's see. I saw it. How old am I now? 33. I saw it when I was in college, and I believe I actually rented it from Netflix discs when Netflix was sending out movies on DVD. So yeah, that is how I did it. I watched it with our housemates Drew and Lauren. That was a time when we were watching a lot of stuff from Netflix. Videodrome was another one that we watched at that time. Yeah, so that's how we watched it, and we were very excited about the Mater.
For $5.99, you were getting yourself a DVD a week.
Yeah, yep, and that I believe that is how we watch it, and I think that's how I saw Suspiria too, and that was earlier. That was a couple of years before, but yeah, yep, Netflix discs when they used to do that. Actually, they still do it. They still send discs. So
it's as I say, I mean, who owns Redbox? Is that its own company?
I think it's its own.
I'm gonna say, because if you think about it, at least around here, because we live in these nice rural parts, you see Redbox is still going up, and it's like, who's going to a Redbox? And oh yeah, take that Blu-ray,
yeah,
DVD, probably DVD, probably not even Blu-rays. I don't get it. It's.
Yep. All right, so what do we got on the docket for next time? What do you think?
Do you want me to pick a film?
Yeah. Let's have you pick one.
Well, what genre are you looking for?
It doesn't matter. It can be anything, really.
I don't know. What would be good?
I don't know. Could be horror, could be comedy, could be an action movie. It's kind of up in the air at this point. We don't really have any themes to go off of right now. Let's see. Our next episode is going to be would be the 3rd. So actually, technically, we should do Groundhog Day. Technically.
I mean, we haven't done it yet, so.
Groundhog Day is the 2nd. And our episode would be released on the 3rd, so we could do Groundhog Day.
Can we even do it anymore? Or is Bill Marubin officially canceled?
Yeah, just canceled out. I think we can still do it. You want to do that one? You want to do Groundhog Day? We haven't done it?
We can do Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's fine. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so. I've already done Scrooged, so. Get it right in there. I think that sounds good. We'll do Groundhog Day for the next one.
So what about Bob? Coming back.
Yeah. And then after that, we got to do a Valentine's Day one.
Do we?
I think I'm kind of running dry on Valentine's Day movies. I don't have a lot.
All right. Time to hit the Google machine, all right? Valentine's
Day. Obviously romance movies we could do, but specific Valentine's Day themed movies, I don't know.
Crazy Rich Asians?
the movie Valentine's Day we could do. Taylor Swift is in that one. My sister would let me know.
Marry Me? That doesn't look like anything good.
I don't know. We won't waste our time trying to figure it out on here now, but
No, we will. The Notebook. No, because this is what we do. We promise things and then we don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's... What the hell?
romantic
All right.
movies.
Horror Valentine's Day. It can't just be Valentine's Day. Into the Dark, My Valentine.
Oh yeah, that Into the Dark was a series of like movies that they did for Hulu.
Valentine.
We did that one.
No, we didn't.
We've done Valentine.
We have not done Valentine.
100%.
We've done My Bloody Valentine. We haven't done Valentine.
We did Valentine.
No, we do Valentine.
I'm like 90% sure we did Valentine's. We did Valentine.
No, we.
I am like 90. I'm going to say 95% sure. Yep. Episode 161. Valentine.
No.
Yes, we did. Remember? You don't remember like the rave thing that they go to? Like the sex rave museum that they go to and stuff. David Boreanaz is in it from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's a Cupid masked guy that's in it. You don't remember this? Yeah, we definitely did do it. I told you. I was 95% sure that we did it. We definitely did it.
Pontypool? What the fuck is Pontypool?
I didn't realize that Pontypool was around Valentine's Day. Like about a virus.
Picnic at Hanging Rock?
That's not really a horror movie,
It's listed.
Bride of Chucky? That's around Valentine's Day?
We're not doing a goddamn Chucky film. Cupid. Holidays. Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein.
I don't know. We will...
My Valentine.
We'll have to pick something.
Hospital Massacre.
There you go. Hospital Massacre.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's a 80s slasher.
Yeah. No, I know the movie. I've never seen it. It's a possibility. That'll go right along with our other slashers that we, the not as good slashers that we did for the season.
What about Lover's Lane?
Lover's Lane. That is actually coming out from Arrow Video. It's going to get released tomorrow. It's the announcement is going to get released tomorrow. It's coming out on Blu-ray.
Number 2 on this list for top Valentine's horror films is Picnic at Hanging Rock. So maybe
it's weird. I am pretty sure that MCLA, my college, actually did that play. So, all right. Well, we'll pick out a Valentine's episode for next week, or for next time in 2 weeks. We're gonna do Groundhog's Day. Groundhog Day. I don't know why I pluralized it. Groundhog Day. Should be fun. Should check it out. Deja vu for you.
it's Groundhog's Day again.
So, if you want to hear us cover that stuff, just subscribe to us on pretty much any podcasting app that you can think of. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or home base at anchor.fm. You leave us a nice review, and it always helps us out. We are on Facebook and Twitter. Search for us on there, Blood and Black Rum Podcast. Like us, follow us, whatever you do on those. And we are on, we have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. Write to us, let us know what you like, what you don't like, and we will do our best to accommodate what you like. Finally, you can donate to us on our Patreon or on anchor.fm for subscribers. Anything you donate will go back towards beer, so we appreciate that. And, thanks for funding our alcoholism. So, other than that, I hope you enjoyed our episode on Argento's Inferno, and hope you come back for our episode next time. Until then,
Take care.